Poland? And fire nets? What's not to like? What's up guys, Chris here, and welcome back to Puck Hunt Gaming, where I just started a brand new video game collection, the focus of which is collecting every hockey video game that's ever been made. And in case you missed the first two videos here on the channel, make sure you check them out in the description below so you can get yourself all caught up. So what are we doing here today? No new pickups to show off here today, but what I wanted to do is set a bit of a baseline standard, and let me take you back a second. So I just picked up in the last video a 50 game megalot, 50 different hockey games for 10 different consoles. Now I'm the kind of collector, I don't want these to just sit on the shelf forever. I actually want to play my way through these games and review them and judge them and try to determine which one's my favorite, which one's the best, that kind of thing. I want to set a bit of a baseline standard and set the bar against which to judge all of these games that I'll be playing through. And that's exactly what we're going to do here today. Today I'm going to announce to you my top 5 retro hockey video games of all time. You won't see any new games on this list, we're just talking about the retro hits, the classics, the trailblazers, the games, that really withstand the test of time. So let's get it all started with number 5. The grandpappy of all hockey video games, Ice Hockey on the Nintendo Entertainment System came out in 1988 and can be considered the first hockey game for the modern console era. To this day, Ice Hockey is widely considered one of the best sports games on the NES. Ice Hockey established many of the elements we're used to seeing in modern hockey video games today. In addition to its basic yet fun gameplay, Ice Hockey also introduced a sense of strategy, as you get to select from a variety of different player types to match your playing style, from the skinny, fast-moving players to the more rotund players with more powerful slap shots. Even though the game only features an exhibition game mode, it still had plenty to offer in terms of customizability, as players had the freedom to select the speed of the game, the length of the period, whether or not you want to play single player or multiplayer modes. Truly impressive given the file size of these games are under 1 megabyte. Ice Hockey remains one of the only hockey games playable on the Nintendo Switch, as it's available with the Nintendo Online service. With simple and fun gameplay at its core, maybe the game's biggest feature is its personality. The developer's attention to detail in all areas make this game so much fun to pick up again and again. The music is so fun and whimsical, they included great details, from crowd noise to referees, even the Zamboni brings a smile to my face. This game, charming as heck, has very few drawbacks. No NHL license, no problem. Hockey fans got to play as their favorite hockey powerhouse nations, like Canada, the United States, and Sweden. And let's not forget, Poland? Just a little sidebar here. Do you have any idea how many NHL players the country of Poland has produced in the last 90 years? 2! The only one you may have ever heard of is Mariusz Czerkawski. Played a bit for the New York Islanders and the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 90s and 2000s, I want to say. He was an all-star, I believe, in 2000. Back on track here, Nintendo's Ice Hockey is a perfect blend of sim elements, arcade elements, and just good old plain fun. And even though there's no fighting or no advanced game modes of any kind, this winner-take-all game has kept fans blowing off those old NES cartridges for years with no end in sight. Number 4 may be the first hot take on this list, and it is NHL 94. While this retro classic doesn't take top spot on our list, it may very well be the biggest trailblazer of them all, as NHL 94 is widely praised for pushing the boundaries of what a hockey game could be and should be. NHL 94 was the third ever installment in the EA Sports NHL franchise, the same franchise that exists today with NHL 21 on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. While EA's first two entries, NHL Hockey and NHL PA Hockey 93, were no doubt solid games, NHL 94's combination of gameplay, options, graphics, sound, speed are almost all in a class of their own. NHL 94 brought realistic NHL action to the forefront, With a full NHL and NHLPA license, that meant fans got to not only enjoy their favorite teams and logos, but also their favorite NHL stars. The developers' attention to detail made NHL 94 feel closer than ever to the real NHL product. Even each in-game arena has its own unique organ sounds that play specific to the city. I still get goosebumps every time I fire up a game in Hartford and hear the brass bonanza. I love it, brings tears to my eyes. There was simulated broken glass, hats flying onto the ice for hat tricks, big bone-crunching hits, and maybe the biggest ever advancement for a hockey video game, they introduced the one-timer. And even to this day, there's still a massive community of online players playing NHL 94 at the website NHL94.com. Even the intro music in this game is iconic. The lineup screens were cool, the menu screens, even your pause menu, it all was a huge step forward. Truthfully, I have nothing bad to say about NHL 94. It really is one of the best hockey video games of all time. Why is it number 4? Well, a little later on you'll find out I think there's one game in the franchise that did everything that NHL 94 did, just a little bit better, but we'll get to that later. Coming in at number 3, the newest or most recent game on this list, it's Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98. Now, I predominantly played this game on the Nintendo 64, but it also was released on the PlayStation 1. Made by Midway in 1997 for the 1998 season, this game had every over-the-top element that you want an arcade-style hockey game to have. Arcade-style hockey games, instead of opting for realistic gameplay, go the complete opposite direction. Everything is over the top. That means quick periods, 3-on-3 play instead of 5-on-5, giant hits, and fire nets? What's not to like? And if you didn't really like this style of game, but it was the one your parents got you, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 allows you to toggle between arcade mode and simulation mode, giving you the freedom to tone down the over-the-topness to a certain degree. This was actually the first game I ever played for the Nintendo 64. I remember getting it on Christmas, and my parents had Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 already rented for me to play. And within minutes, I was picking this up and setting nets on fire. The learning curve was really not so bad. I got to enjoy it right away, which is the way arcade games are meant to be played. Not to mention, the game actually features season modes, so you can enjoy a perfect blend of simulation style and arcade style elements as you work your way through an NHL season and hope to win Lord Stanley's Cup. Also worth mentioning, this is the only game in the top 5 that was made using 3D polygons and does a decent job making use of the Nintendo 64's 3D capabilities. Overall, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 is a great early 3D game, it's a great arcade-style game, and is a lot of fun to pick up even to this day. Coming in at number 2 is the Konami classic, let me try and get this voice right, Blades of Steel.
Blades of Steel.
Alright, mine needs work. This baby was released on a whole bunch of platforms back in the late 80s and early 90s. You had no excuses if you didn't play Blades of Steel. Blades of Steel.
Blades of Steel.
Still gotta work on it. Developed by Konami and initially released as an arcade game in October of 1987, Blades of Steel was ported to the Nintendo Entertainment System for a holiday release in 1988. Not too dissimilar to Nintendo's Ice Hockey in terms of its gameplay, where Blades of Steel gets the leg up over its competition is in the depth of features and creative risks taken by the developers in order to create the final product. Back to the voice feature for a little bit. I love the way that this voice and the play-by-play voice in this game sounds, but digging a little deeper, one would realize that voice sampling like this was actually really rare on the original Nintendo. Instead of just an exhibition mode, Blades of Steel also featured a tournament mode. Instead of having to choose a country to play as, players got to choose a city, making it feel a little closer to that of professional hockey. Both Ice Hockey and Blades of Steel are very similar retro hockey video game experiences, but there are a couple of elements that give Blades of Steel a slight edge for me, and that includes fighting. The fighting mode is super basic, but since Ice Hockey didn't feature fighting at all, you gotta give the point to Blades of Steel on this one. And honestly, Blades of Steel gets an extra point for just how cool their intermissions were. During the second intermission of Blades of Steel, you can trigger an animation, one of two animations. The first one is this bear shooting this puck through the net. Adorable, of course, but the coolest one was basically an ad for other Konami products. It was this playable Gradius-style demo ad for Contra. Super fun. Of course, I couldn't replicate that screen, and I didn't want to steal anyone else's footage of it, but I swear it exists, and it's super cool. Please make sure you go and check that out. Simply put, Blades of Steel feels like the big brother of Nintendo's ice hockey. It feels a little more grown up, it's a little less cartoony, and had a little more to offer players compared to its Nintendo predecessor. The number one retro hockey video game of all time is NHL 95. Now I'm going to get this out of the way right now. Am I biased because this is the first ever hockey video game I ever played? You betcha. But I still firmly believe, through hard, non-scientific research, that this is the best hockey retro game of all time. Give me a second to tell you why. First off, we can all agree NHL 94 was amazing. Amazing! But the advancements made in NHL 95 put it miles ahead. The gameplay largely remained untouched between 94 and 95. The features they added in NHL 95 really put it over the top. You could create a player, you could play a full season, you could win an award at the end of the year. A lot of you may not agree with this. I thought the music sounded a little better in NHL 95 compared to 94, and the features were way deeper. Yes, I'm emotionally attached to NHL 95. Maybe to an unhealthy level. But that doesn't mean objectivity has gone out the window. To make sure I selected the right game, I did my due diligence here. So to be fair to the process, I asked myself, okay then Chris, is 95 objectively better than 96, 97, or 98? In short, yes. Yes, it is. As developers inch closer and closer to realism with the 3D era, which started for EA Sports with NHL 99 on the N64, with every subsequent iteration, I just thought they lost a little bit of that retro feel and that character that made these games so special. The games were never bad, and by a lot of definitions were probably better. But for me, NHL 95 found that sweet spot, and that's why it takes home the number one spot on my list of retro hockey video games. Which ones are your favorite? Which ones did I miss? Let me know in the comments below. That's gonna do it for this video. Make sure you hit that like button. Ooh, we got a waking kitty here. Am I too loud for you? This is Dolly. She sleeps in here. All right, guys, that's gonna do it. On behalf of Dolly and me, we'll see you next time.